powered business development here at Vallejo Networks. Thank you for joining me on my live stream. This is a follow-up session from a CLE that I put on for the Pennsylvania Bar Institute last week. It was a great CLE. I hope you were able to join, and if you weren't able to join, I'm really sorry. You can actually go to the PBI's website and purchase this CLE. It was a really, really powerful CLE. I really enjoyed it. When you sit back and you actually look at something and you say, hey, I did a good job, or hey, I did a bad job. That was one of the best I feel that I've ever performed for a CLE. So please, by all means, go purchase that CLE from the Pennsylvania Bar Institute. A couple of things. I've got a whole bunch of questions that people wanted me to answer. And unfortunately, with that CLE, it was so packed with practical demonstrations. You got to go buy it. You got to go see this. That I didn't have time to answer all the questions. And I promised I would do a session afterwards answering all those questions. And I looked them over. There's some fantastic questions here. The lawyers that were involved, like 350 lawyers were involved in this. And they had some really powerful questions. So before we get started, though, I got to do the proverbial PowerPoint slide deck. The PowerPoint slide deck you to death. So give me a second. Let me show you my slide deck. I promise you, I will not give you death by a PowerPoint. And I hope this is displaying for you properly. I'm trying something new where it's doing landscape and also portrait. So depending upon the medium in which you're on, I hope that it is actually showing up well for your medium. Now, if you do have questions while I'm chatting here, please, by all means, put in a comment on LinkedIn. In the actual live stream itself, there's a comment bar at the bottom, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to see them. I can't promise you, sometimes it's hard to watch both and do the same thing. But again, if I don't, I will reply to your comments, text-based, to get those questions answered. Now, before we get started, let's kind of go through again real quick about Microsoft 365 Copilot. I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So this is about Microsoft 365 Copilot for lawyers and legal work, legal professionals, right? And so understand that even if you're not a lawyer or legal professional and you're watching this, no problem. A lot of the things here are just very basic things. I wanted to make it like a 100 series class, CLE, right? And so I don't assume you know anything in this. So very important. So the things I'm going to talk about are pretty low end, right? But you can watch if you're not a lawyer or a legal professional. That's fine. Who am I? Just in case you don't know, I am Jim Gast, and I am a 30-year legal technology, cybersecurity, and now AI, expert, if you want to call me that. I mean, do you ever really become an expert? One of the things I can tell you is I've been working for lawyers for about 30 years now on many different levels: legal application consulting, infrastructure consulting, lots of different areas, and now AI, of course. I love this area. This new arena that has come around is going to put the practice of law and really everything on overdrive. And so, yeah, I speak for Microsoft once a month, generally speaking. Next month in April, I'm actually speaking twice for Microsoft, once on Microsoft 365 Copilot and another one on Microsoft Fabric and AI technologies around it. That's a really good one. You should tune into that one. Generally, those are geared around nonprofits. But I have spoken for the ALA, ABA, every alphabet soup, ends of courts. I've spoken for so many different OSBA, CBA, and KBA. The list goes on. I call it the alphabet soup of legal association. So, and I'm really proud to have done it. I've blogged, I post. I actually had a podcast for about 3 or 4 years, me and some partners, and loved that. That was great. But I really know what I'm talking about here, guys. And I'm not a lawyer. Don't pretend to be a lawyer. So, what I'm going to tell you today, you need to take this information, all of it back, and verify that is right for you and your state and your area of law. That is absolutely essential. Okay. I make no legal representations because I am not a lawyer. All right. Now, what can Microsoft 365 do for you and your practice? The fact of the matter is Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's going to really, I came in when computers were new, right? That's when I started doing this. I was a chemist, and then computers came around, and right? He got good at it and became this guy now. What I'm going to tell you is when I saw computers come around, we were doing everything by paper, calculator, or so on and so forth. And when computers came around, what did it do? We thought it was going to replace jobs and people and so on and so on. And I'm sure that there was a percentage of that. But what I found is people adapted, learned how to work with it better and utilize it so they could get done more and faster and better. Yep, all three of those, right? And so now with AI, the advent of AI, the fact of the matter is, yeah, sure, people are afraid it's going to replace, but I think especially with lawyers and the legal profession, I just don't think we're there. I just don't see it, right? But it is going to make a lawyer faster, their staff faster, more efficient. I mean, think about it. Microsoft 365's Copilot's brain is the internet, is everything that it has access to, right? On top of that, it has access to all of the information that you have permissions to look at your firm. So its brain is huge. It has so much more power than ours does. And we can actually tap into that and make it work for us. So it really is. It's a personal assistant for everybody, right? It's incredible. And so I have taken processes that usually take me 5 hours down to 15 minutes by using AI, and you can do the same thing. Works where you're at. So the difference between Microsoft 365 Copilot, Microsoft Copilot Chat is included in every subscription of Microsoft 365, but the Microsoft 365 Copilot is a paid add-on to Microsoft 365. If you're not paying for it, your organization's not paying for it, you don't have it. All right. The difference between the two is Microsoft 365 Copilot has awareness of everything that you securely have access to in your Microsoft 365, your email, your documents, your meetings, and so on and so on and so on, right? If you don't have access to it, it doesn't have access to it as you, all right? And there's some questions in here about that kind of stuff, and we're going to cover those. It's very secure. It doesn't take your information out to the internet and utilize it in the internet. We're going to cover some questions on that, and I'm almost done, right? I think that's yeah. So it'll get back time, so on and so forth. A couple points here. I think this is powerful for supporting legal staff. I mean, I know some attorneys don't like change. It's kind of hard to change when you're, running the fire truck all the time. I get that, right? But if you can take a step back, or you can have your staff take a step back and put something like this in place, you're going to see, especially through my demonstrations, practical demonstrations, I'm going to offer you one at the end of this. You can see how this will save you a whole lot of time. But before I get any further, I want to go ahead and stop PowerPointing you to death. I want to get right to the Q&A. All right, let's hide that. Here I am, big head. All right, so one of the questions I had is if I use Copilot for any task being, let's see here, does the content I divulge, in other words, the words I put in it, or the information that I connect it to, the documents or the meetings or the people or files or whatever I divulge, does that become part of Microsoft's large language model and potentially cause me to violate ethical rules regarding client confidentiality? ? Does Microsoft make any written statements related to this question, and where? Okay, Microsoft has an incredible section on their website for the data security about Microsoft 365 Copilot and all their other products. It's like under the Compliance Center. I forget where it's at, but they do. Okay. And I will find that and I will post that link into the comments of this session. I'm talking fast because I don't have a lot of time. But the question is, the real question is, does Microsoft use this in their large language model? Let me do this. I love this question coming first because it is essential for you to understand that your Microsoft 365 is like a sphere, okay? Think of it like a sphere, okay? And in that sphere of Microsoft 365 is your email, your documents, your Teams meetings, the people you collaborate with, and oh yeah, inside that sphere is your Microsoft 365 Copilot. So securely, it can access all these things because it lives within your Microsoft 365. Now, I'm really making this rudimentary, okay? I like to try to make it understandable. When Microsoft 365 Copilot needs an answer that you have given it permission to go to the internet for, okay? So there's like 3 modes, right? There's 3 modes. There's work mode plus internet mode, and then there's internet mode only. All right. You could say, I'm going to give you a question. I want you to only pull the answer from my work product. I only want you to pull the product. Now I want you to pull the information from my work product and the internet. And or the last one, of course, being I only want information from the internet, nothing from our work product. So those are 3 modes that you control when you ask the question. So when any of those utilize the internet, what Microsoft 365 Copilot does is it goes outside of Microsoft 365 to, for lack of a better way to say it, Microsoft's private, secure internet search engine, if you will. Okay. Think of like Google or Bing, but in Microsoft 365. So it's pulling it down and you can't access it directly. There's no way to access it directly. And it's not building that large language model in there. It's building the large language model within your Microsoft 365. It uses something called an orchestrator to go get that information from that private internet search engine, if you will. That's really the easiest way I can explain it. It's not perfect, but that's what it does. So it's not sending that information to the internet ever. And even when it says internet only, it's not sending it out to like the Google search engine or anything like that. It's a secure private repository. That's the only way I can say it, within the Microsoft's secure AI infrastructure. But your large language model learns about you within your Microsoft 365. It lives right there. Okay. So you don't have to worry about it going out there. I hope that was a good answer. What do I do? Now, second question. If I have personal, not enterprise subscription to Microsoft 365 Premium, what level of security do I have? You know, I don't talk about home editions or personal plans. I only talk about the business and enterprise editions. I know that Microsoft 365 Copilot, I know Copilot. I don't know what edition of Copilot is available with home, and I don't know anything about the security. What I'm going to say is logically, considering it is Microsoft and you are doing a paid subscription, you should have some assurances, but I don't promise that. Again, I'll get that link for security. Here's a big one, and I love this one. I met with a law firm in Indianapolis today, and then this question came up, and it comes up all the time. Can you use Copilot with Microsoft? Can you use Microsoft 365 Copilot? There is a differentiator. That Microsoft 365 Copilot is the paid one. From now on, I'll call it Copilot. Can you use Copilot with Net Documents? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Net Documents has made an add-in. I believe it works within Teams, actually, and it works pretty well. And so we're going to be actually testing out. Maybe I'll get you a demo of that. I'd love to have a demonstration of that. But yes, it does. If you're going to ask me about World Docs or iManage, I don't know the answer to those. Even if you're in the cloud, I don't know. But natively, Microsoft 365 Copilot, or Copilot henceforth, is really wants to work with SharePoint or OneDrive and your data within Microsoft 365. Anything else outside of it, usually you have to have an agent developed by the organization that wants it to integrate. There's another great one with, I'll think of the name in a second. So number 4, even though outsiders cannot access what you upload, does Copilot use the data you upload to train the program so that some aspects of what you upload may appear in responses given to others? No. Okay. It will not. All right. The simple is this. Okay. What it will do is it will learn about you. All right. I have it so that, hey, when you create a marketing letter for me, when you create a sales email for me, I use these fonts. I use this tone. I use this methodology, and I have methodologies of things that I've done for years. You tell it to that, and it will remember that about you. Okay. And as you start to become an expert and start asking it questions, like, for example, I work with multiple industries, right? And so I'll say, hey, what am I an expert in? And it will remember I work with legal, nonprofit, manufacturing, automotive aftermarket manufacturing. It knows my hobbies because I have talked to it about it. So it'll learn about you as well. But it doesn't provide that information to others, just so you know. And I'm going to say it again. It only has access to the information that you have access to when you're using it. So it's a license per user. And so it behaves just like you, and it adheres to your security. Here's another one I love. Does Microsoft 365 Copilot work with recent versions of WordPerfect? The short answer is there's no interface for WordPerfect. And I know you'll you'll go to the grave with a WordPerfect disk or box in your hand. And I respect that. It was one of the first things out there and it did a great job. But it does not. Now, can it read WordPerfect documents? I'm going to tell you, here's the simple way to figure that out. It's really easy. Ask Microsoft Copilot in Copilot chat. Do you work with WordPerfect documents? I believe that it can see within WordPerfect documents because it can see within PDFs and other formats as well. So I know Word can open up PDF, so I think that it can read within them, but it does not natively work with Microsoft Word WordPerfect documents. My phone's frozen up over here. I hope I haven't frozen up to the web. That would be kind of disappointing. Is there a way to utilize work and world/internet mode? Yes, you can. Do you have to choose one or the other? You have the option for work only or internet only, and then you've got the option for work and internet. That is an option that you set in any of the interfaces of Copilot because it's all over the place in your applications once you get it. So yes, you can. You just have to it is work, and then you toggle internet on and off. And when you toggle internet on, it's using your work resources and your internet resources. When you toggle work off, when you toggle internet off in your work mode, it's only using the work. Okay. All right. Are there prompts where you can get it to generate a more detailed argument from the get-go? Okay. Instead of having to give it a short form version, then go back and forth with additional prompts. So if I understand this correctly, okay, if you're trying to develop an argument, it can help you develop arguments. That's the fun part of being a lawyer, right? Is developing those arguments. So the more verbose you are in your prompts, the more it's going to help you. Now, as you develop that document and argument, whatever that is, the more information you feed it, it will revise the whole thing again based on that new information. So, we went through this whole divorce and I forgot to mention there were kids involved or there was real property involved in Florida, plus Ohio. So yeah, and then it'll go, okay, based on that new information, I'm going to redo this whole thing. So it does, and don't feel bad about it because half of the job when utilizing something like a Microsoft 365 Copilot is the trial and error method, right? Never trust, exclusively trust but verify. I've got a question on that here in a moment. And here's another question. I like this one. Can I ask Microsoft Copilot to learn a local motion template to start any motion? The short answer is yeah. Okay. There's a couple of ways to accomplish this. You can always have it refer to a template document just by using the /. The / when you're prompting looks up data. Okay. It's a Microsoft 365 data lookup switch is what it is. So use this motion space / typing in the name of the motion, and it'll start to prompt. Okay. Pull it up. Or I'd rather see you create an agent that asks you for the various motions, okay, or gives you, I want to start in Ohio civil motion. I want to start in Hamilton County civil motion, right? All right. And again, I'm just making this up as I go. Again, I'm not an attorney. Don't pretend to be. Hopefully I'm doing pretty good though. And so if you create an agent to do that, that agent can then prompt you for it and then use the correct one. Really cool. Agents are so powerful. And you can build that personal for yourself, and then you can share that to others in your organization. Again, if you want more security, you use something called Microsoft Studio, Microsoft Copilot Studio. But with Microsoft 365 Copilot, you can build agents to help you with that. That's really cool. And I'm going to do that demonstration later on for people. How do you cite AI if you use it? All right. Again, here I'm going to go back. I'm not an attorney. Okay. I don't know how to put appropriate citations. All right. I don't know the various types of citations that are required and where they're required, and what levels of law that they're required. So I don't know that. But if you want the citation, you tell Microsoft 365 Copilot when you're in whatever it is, your document, give me a citation for this of the source that you found it from, and it will give it. And it can insert it or you can copy and paste it. Many times when it finds information, it will give you a link of where it found that information, you can go research that link. It gives it right underneath the information, or at the bottom of anything that it researched and it pulled information from. There's usually not a citations link, but a resources link, a sources link, where it shows all the sources it pulled it from, and then you can go look at each one. That's no matter where you use it. How do you control font type margins to finalize a federal court pleading or to file, for example? The answer is you just tell it. Put this, if you have an example of that document, that can be set this document to the same fonts and everything like that, and margins, or you can tell it in the beginning, or you can tell it at the end. Okay, now this is all done. Set all the margins, and if it can't do it, it will tell you how to do it, which is really important sometimes. Microsoft 365 Copilot doesn't always know how to do something, and there are limitations. So there are limitations, and it can't do everything. And I'm going to talk to you in a minute about that too. Gosh, I've got so many. I'm not doing too bad. Do you have, or should you acknowledge or express anywhere on the document that you use AI? If so, what would you suggest we write? Well, that has to go with your professional code of ethics, right? I can't tell you that, right? And I'm sure every jurisdiction has different rules on that. And I'm sure there are opinions, lots of opinions, formal-based opinions in many different places at the state level and so on and so forth. So I would say do your lawyer stuff and go find out, or ask Copilot, hey, should I and am I required to? But again, verify. Very important. Does Copilot have hallucination issues? Sure. I think any AI would, right? And so if you're building something off of fictitious information, it's going to build a whole fictitious story around it. But you can found it. I will tell you that if you're in a meeting and you're using Microsoft 365 Copilot, I should just call it Copilot for short. If you're using Copilot to record that meeting, and then you go back and try to, ask questions about that meeting, if there are contradictions in that meeting, it can make mistakes on things like pronouns. If I said he this time, and then later on I accidentally said she, it could hallucinate and make mistakes between the two. It is possible. That's why I always say trust but verify. Yeah, I know. Trust but verify isn't as fun as creating it yourself. Here's a big one. Do law clerks need to be concerned that their jobs will be taken over by Copilot? Law clerks, listen to me, okay? Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. I don't worry about these things. I think we're human beings, and we adapt and overcome, and we're going to get better. We're going to learn how to, do different things. I just, there's something about the brain and logic and reasoning that I just don't think we're there. I don't really think about it. I can tell you that in 2018, my former business partner, we were speaking at the national conference of the ALA, Association of Legal Administrators, in Denver, Boulder, Colorado. And he said, paralegals were going to not have legal administrators and paralegals weren't going to have jobs in the near future. Well, that was 2018. It hasn't happened yet. Okay. And I can't see, I just can't see. What I will tell you is that you're going to have to use AI because the expectations, I believe, are going to be greater on us as people and workers than they were before. If you don't know how to use AI, you're going to be generally slower at doing the work later on. So if you do know how to use AI, it's just going to be expected. So we're just going to have to up our game, and it's going to keep making us be able to do more faster. So that's my opinion. Law clerks, don't worry. Paralegals, don't worry. Legal secretaries, I say don't worry. Adapt, though. I mean, if you're worried about it, adapt. That's what I say. Now, please correct. Oh, yeah. So I got a slap on the wrist by one of the people. Corrected, and I'm going to read it because I think it's important here, and that's why I started off like I did. Correct the presenter's casual use of an outside search for citations as advisable for lawyers. This, and he's saying this, I'm not a lawyer approach is dangerous. And he was right. He was right. Sometimes I get going and I kind of speak fast and don't exactly put all the thoughts appropriately in my mind. Okay. It's important that you cite appropriately. You can cite or disclose Copilot as an AI tool they use in drafting a document. So listen, I'm telling you in the beginning, I'm disclosing in the beginning, not a lawyer. Don't take what I say as legal advice. I'm not an expert in this stuff. I might sound like it sometimes, but when it comes to, the legal stuff, the practical law, don't even pretend. Don't even pretend. Can Copilot compare separate but related documents to spot conflicts and inconsistencies? Oh yeah, definitely. All you got to do is just say, first off, in one document, you can open it up and you can say, analyze this document for inconsistencies within it. Okay. Or then you could take a version of the document and another version of the document, and you can have Microsoft Copilot compare them, looking for differences in the Copilot. You probably can't do it within Word, but Word does have compare. So I think that it can do a little bit better than just compare and look for contradictions and stuff like that too. So yes, yes, yes. But again, these are learning things. You have to learn how to get it to do it. You're not going to open it up and know how to do it right away. If you don't know, I have people ask me all the time, how do I know, right? And one of these questions I had on WordPerfect, I wasn't 100% sure. So I asked Copilot, do you work with WordPerfect? And it tells me it does not work with WordPerfect. So there we go. Do you normally use dictation to avoid typing hassles? No, I don't. However, admittedly, I'm really liking the Copilot dictation a whole lot better. It's very conversational. The voice that it has is very, and it repeats back, so it makes sure I know it understands what I'm asking. And you can usually speak something a lot more fluently when you're trying to express what you're trying to get it to do than you can type it. So I like it a lot. I like a lot. Who said that? Was that one of Adam Sandler's movies or something like that? Or yeah. Anyway, the point is this: it's really cool. Try it. I used it on my phone right before here because I wanted to use it on something I just didn't have time to type, right? And so I could half listen if I needed to. Don't tell it I half listened. And it makes you feel guilty, actually. You feel guilty when you're like, okay, that answered my question. It says, okay, well, when you're ready to do this, and you got to click that X until it's shut up. I feel guilty. I don't know. It's weird. I hope it doesn't have feelings. Watch it come back and haunt me and give me some bad information. All right. How do you ensure it follows instructions carefully? For example, I just uploaded a number of PDFs to Copilot and asked it to combine them and organize them chronologically. While it claims to have done that, and did actually combine the documents, it did not organize them in a chronological order. Okay, so there was a question for later. That's a great question. And so what did I do? I opened up my Copilot and I had a conversation with my Copilot using the voice dictation, because that's a complicated one to type out, right? And I asked it, and it didn't get it right at first. I said, no, wait. Instead, what I mean is, if I have a document if I have documents from a car accident, and there's an accident report, and then there's a, what led up to it, where were they at beforehand, what happened afterwards, when they went to the police station or when they went to get medically examined or whatever it was, right? Okay. Those things have chronological information that are not all in one place. And we would have to manually take that information and put it somewhere. What it said, this is still to be tested. That's going to be a cool test. When you do test it, let me know. And so what it said is, I can analyze all these documents for you, but I cannot take that information and put it into a new document. I can set up the stuff that happened pre, and timelines, and during, and timelines, and after, but I can't make a new document out of it. And I was like, that's pretty cool. But you can show me how to make a new document, because I can make a new document if I want to, or it can show me how to do it. Again, go to Copilot and tell it what you want it to do. You will be surprised as to what it can do. 2 minutes. It feels like this is the worst one. This is the worst question, I think. Yeah, there's a question in here, but I don't know that it's really okay. I get we do things the way we want to do. Okay. We're used to doing things the way we do things, right? I don't like change, right? My job is change. I got no choice, right? I have to tell you guys what the new stuff is. So I'm changing all the time. I don't get to get set into one mode and just stay that way. The question is, it feels like instead of doing the fun jobs of lawyering, that being wordsmithing, crafting arguments, etc., that with Copilot, I just turned into a constant proofreader, verifying everything that Copilot does. And here's the question. I'm not against using AI, but am I missing something? I love this question. And the important thing here is that, yes, it will take away some of the fun stuff. You're right. Okay. To me, it does. AI has a tendency of eliminating creativity. So I'm going to go a minute over or so, guys. You become less creative is what I have found. When I would make it, when I used to actually put together my webinars, I come up with the banners, the PowerPoints, the scripts, the descriptions for the emails, all the emails. I had to come up with those, and then I come up with the description for the web interface for people to register in, and all the emails that follow on, and all the post emails. Now I created a Microsoft 365 Copilot agent to do all that for me. One button, I tell it what I want to talk about, and it does it all for me. And yeah, that used to be fun, but I like getting stuff done more. Okay. I like being able to move on to the next thing, and I like being able to produce more. Okay. Do I have to go back and visually review all that stuff? Oh, you bet. Oh, you bet. And sometimes the images for me, I don't know if you use images, sometimes images won't come out the way I want. I said, don't use this color, use this color instead. Don't use this logo, use this logo, change the title. Yeah, I become a proofreader and I become something like that. But my argument for that is if you have those what were they? If you have law clerks and you have legal secretaries, paralegals, and all these people, to a degree, you're doing that. Hopefully you're not doing it all yourself, right? And if you are, you can, maybe you can lift the burden and you can do more client communications or something like that. There's a trade-off, right? There's definitely a trade-off on it. So there's the questions and answers. I'm not seeing any questions on LinkedIn, and that's okay because I don't have much time. But what I'm going to show you is my slide deck one more time. Here's what I would say. This is how you start with Microsoft 365. Start with the small, simple stuff first. Don't jump into it and think you're going to do large, complex documents and all that stuff. Just review a document. Review this document for me and ask questions about a long irrevocable trust or something. You know what I mean? Does it have this? Does it have this? Or evidentiary information. Can you find me this? And let it be a search tool for you to help you find stuff, right? Do basic documents in your Microsoft Word. Simple things. Always start off simple. It's not advanced. You just think of it like you're talking to an assistant, that works for you, somebody that works for you, right? And as your confidence grows, you can actually get better at using it. That's what I say. And have a plan, right? Make it down. Okay, well, I want to do this by the end of the week. Have it make a plan for you. Yes, have it do work for you. Make a plan for me to use you better. That's what you say. Microsoft 365 Copilot, it is an add-on to lots of different bundles now. And so you have to add it to a Microsoft 365 license. It doesn't work standalone. And it's about $30 per user per month as an add-on license. So if you're interested, get it to me. But here's what I suggest. If you want to use Microsoft 365 Copilot, don't go at it your own. If you're a firm, okay, larger firm that, 5, 10 people or more, I strongly recommend implementing this through phases. First and foremost, if you don't implement it correctly, security is a major vulnerability with any AI, especially an AI that has contact into all of your data within your realm of the security. You've got data that might mess it up, but within the data that you have access to. So if a hacker breaks in, they're going to learn how to use Microsoft 365 Copilot to extract Social Security. Make me a list of all the documents that have Social Security numbers. Give me all the Social Security numbers. They're going to get to that. So we need to secure it properly. That is essential. Don't do that on your own. So my recommendation is get my, we decided to edit it before we send it out. We're supposed to send it out Friday. Get my Copilot roadmap and checklist assessment. Okay. And I want you to understand where you're at. It's the scoring system that tells you how ready you are to start utilizing Microsoft 365 Copilot. Implementing Copilot is really not that hard. It's just, you put it on a license and do a couple trainings on it, and people are like, oh, okay. It's really easy to use, but it's the readiness that you need to make sure. And so if you want it, I'm working on this link right here. By all means, it will be available on this link here soon. Let me check where that link goes to, because I haven't been to that link for a while. It's not published yet. If it is published, oh yeah, we're not completely ready, but that is the link. That's the QR code to the link. Screenshot this, take a picture over your phone, or just email me if you want at jim@valeonetworks.com, or you can message me here on LinkedIn. But by all means, we're going to try to get these out to people that are requesting them by end of day Friday, and we should have that goal. If you have any questions, jim@valeonetworks.com. connect with me on LinkedIn, please, please, please. I love connections. I'm working on, I think I've got 9,000 now. And so I'm working on my next 1,000. So 513-252-0212. I'm Jim Gast, Vallejo Networks, Director of AI-Powered Business Development. Thanks for attending. I hope this was valuable for everybody. I didn't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Look forward to talking to you soon.